Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council. It is Monday, June 17th, 2019, and ask the city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Councilor Parsons.
Here.
Councilor Smith.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Freeman.
Here.
Councilor Reed.
Here.
And Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Thank you very much. Would you all please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful, almost summer evening. We have nothing under special orders of business tonight. We will go to committee reports, and we have Clint Holland here to talk to us about to give us the Parks report. Mr. Holland.
Thank you. I'm here to make the report for the parks. We had a short meeting this month, and here are some of the things that we covered. Most of you know Jeff Davis, who is working in some of the parks to put exercise equipment in. This guy's doing a good job. We should be thankful we've got him because he's going to continue working on that. They're installing the 7-station at Glen, or Country Glen Park, and a pull-up and a push-up bars at Claggett Creek, and that won't be done until about the middle of July. I'd like to thank these people who have really helped on this project. Mark Collier, Randy Miller, Dale Richardson, Herx Rental has just been awesome in this town of the things that they do for this community. Salem Concrete also does a lot of stuff for the community, and Knife River. After we get done with this, we'll take some time to evaluate with feedback. So before they start in new parks again, we'll get some feedback from the community of what they like, what they don't like, so we can make better improvements the next time we do another park. We talked about some Eagle projects, thanks to Dan Kohler up here. We're working on some projects at Keizer Rapids Park, and that will probably happen here in the next month or two. As you know, we assigned each Parks Board member 2 parks, and we review those parks. Parks members actually go there. They look at what's going on. I have Keizer Little League, so I go there all the time to see what the improvements are happening. And Mike Witham Park, which is a garden that's just incredible, and people love what's there and what the city has done and the community has done, so it's been great. We also reviewed Meadows, Clear Lake, Chalmers Jones, Country Glen, and Bob Newton Park this last board meeting. Might mention that staff has been going through irrigation, having some problems with irrigation a little. I mean, they were working today at Keizer Rapids Park because the irrigation wouldn't come on the dog park. And Mike Whitaker, who helps on so many things, he came down today and helped on the electrical stuff, and a couple hours they got it solved, and it's now going to run tonight for the first time. Splash Fountain will be opened on June 12th, and it will operate Wednesday through Sunday, noon to 7 p.m., as long as the temperature that day is going to be 75 degrees or so. Parks is going through a lot of garbage right now. Holy smoke, last week, just at Keizer Rapids, there was 10 garbage bags that came off of the volleyball courts alone. I mean, all the garbage bins, according to Robert, are all full this last week, and most of it's because of graduation. People are having their parties there, and so some of these parks are really getting used heavy. It's good that we're keeping up with those. The drinking fountain at Meadows Park has been installed and operating, so that's new. That's basically the things that we covered at our Parks Board meeting. I'd also like to talk about, yes,
Press pause before you change subjects. Does anybody have any questions on what happened at the Parks Board meeting? I do have one.
I have.
Okay, Counselor Reed, and then I'll,
Thanks. I know we've talked before about how the trash is hard to keep up on, so I just kind of wanted to follow up. So who is taking those 11 cans of trash out? So that's, okay. So
Right.
that's the city employees are on top of that, and they are
they got
patrolling.
it, actually at Keizer Rapids Park, they were real good and got the stuff up on Saturday, and somebody got it up on Sunday too. But the bins were, like I said, jam full because of all the garbage.
And so that's with all the parks, they're checking that on all the parks, or?
Yeah, we have,
Mostly Keizer
we have our seasonal temporary help on board, and so we have somebody working on the weekends now, this time of year, so they're out, among running the splash fountain, they're out running the parks and checking for garbage and taking care of things like that. The high-use parks, Keizer Rapid, focus on that, but also visit the other parks throughout the weekend and make sure that things are in order.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Most parks I go to, they're pretty clean. We do a good job.
all right, and that was my question, so, all right.
Okay?
Change gears.
Okay, I wanted to talk just a few minutes about what's going on at the amphitheater this year. I think everybody's got a flyer, right? Okay. The schedule this year is really heavy. We've got probably the best lineup we've ever had. We're gambling a little this year and starting at the end of June, which we've never had events in June because of rain usually, but weather's been pretty good this year. Hopefully it continues that way. But we have a pretty heavy schedule, starting off with one of the big ones we do, and that is the Beatles tribute on the 28th of this month. And we got some this year because we couldn't work the schedule out very good. We got some that are Friday and Saturday nights, as you see on here. The first weekend is Friday and Saturday night. Then we have the Hawaiian Luau. If you haven't been to this Hawaiian Luau, you have to come to it. It's just like being in Hawaii. They do that good a job.
Fire dancers, too.
Yep, everything. This year we got Joe Stoddard, which we have not had for years. Brady Gosh, which is always big. Homegrown Theater has changed their date this year. They moved up earlier in July. And Johnny Limble, which is one of our biggest ones. Patrick Lamb, which is one of our biggest ones. And then again, that weekend, Patrick Lamb and Ty Curtis, two big ones, we're having Friday and Saturday night. The following week, we got the biggest one we do, and that's JFK. They usually finish the season, but this year they wanted to change and go early, and that helps us a little because when you have a great big event to end the season, you got to decide how much food you're going to bring, and it's a nightmare.
It gets dark earlier, too.
Pardon?
It gets dark earlier, too.
Yeah, but that's good for them because they do a light show out there that's second to none. It's just, I can't believe all the time it takes them to set up. It actually takes them 2 days to set their lighting and stuff up out there and do a good job. Joe Kenny's been great to us. And then we finished the season off, and not big events, but we still have good events that finish off in September 14th. September 14th is later. Usually we only go to the 7th. And and then there's another Hawaiian Luau that the Samoans do that's separate from us. We help them, but they'll be doing that at the end of August.
All right.
Okay?
Questions, and where can people find this information online?
It's online at our website, kraorg.com.
And on Facebook?
And on Facebook, we do a lot of advertisement. That's really what's helped us a lot. Keizer Times has been awesome to me. I mean, they have bent over backwards for us. He's our title sponsor, too, which makes a big difference. And he's done a lot to help us.
So if businesses are interested in sponsoring, they should get a hold of you as well. You have sponsorships still available?
I'm out actively doing that myself this year. I picked up Joe Egley. I picked up the
Light.
I picked up the Mexican place there. And that was really good because I wanted to do that. And hopefully, I'm working on a couple others there that if we get them, that's going to really help us. So we're working hard on the sponsors. It's hard. There's a lot of people going after sponsors, so it can only go so far. The other thing, it's not on the schedule, but we've asked Shannon a couple of questions if we can get added time or added concerts. And I have A.J. Nash is another sponsor that I picked up, and he is interested in sponsoring the movies in the park.
Okay.
So we're going to be asking later on permission if we can do up to 2. We might only do 1, but we want to do up to 2 in the park this year.
That's on tonight's agenda. So Shannon got right on it. So what we can do is if you stick around for that administrative action, if we have questions, if you would remain available, that would be appreciated.
Good.
So that'll be later on in tonight's program. All right, thank you very much. Looking forward to a lot of fun going on in Keizer all summer long. Anybody who says they're bored needs to check Facebook for events. Okay, that takes us then into public testimony. The time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearings tonight, so we will start off with Don Bostwick from Huggins Insurance. Welcome, Don. We're glad to have you here. And there is a memo on at your place here from Dawn.
Well, thank you, everyone, for kind of getting me in at the last minute. But we got the insurance renewal numbers in on the city's property liability and workers' comp towards the end of last week. And we started kind of crunching the numbers, and we, as usual, we're always impressed with the city's performance on workers' comp claims and liability and police liability claims. I just thought it would be nice to give some recognition to the people that we work with at Huggins Insurance and also City County Insurance Services, who the city has a very good reputation with. I would say, I haven't heard them say this right out loud, but I would say that they think the city of Keizer is probably a city to model after because of your loss control and your great loss history. It's been my honor to actually service the city's account since the 90s when Chuck Huggins was the agent. And it's always been so easy to work with the people. I wanted to give Tracy Davis and Michelle DePina and Kristen Brokaw and Chris Epling kudos, because the reason the city has saved almost $1 million in the last 10 years is because they have listened to the loss control suggestions of City County Insurance Services. They enroll in every single program that they possibly can for the employees to get credit, so they get additional credits off their premium. I'll be honest, not every city is that easy to work with. And I think that's why City County Insurance Services really does model Keizer after. And I don't think they really come out and say, you should be like Keizer. But they should be. Yeah, and that's the truth. But most of your savings has been in workers' compensation. You have also saved about $174,000 in liability claims, which is good. We've had a couple of bumps in the road, as you'll see on the schedule here that I sent. But the red is the losses, and you've only had 1 year of bad losses on workers' comp and 2 years of losses on the general liability. So I'm not really here to get into detail and give you all these numbers, but I do just want to say that we really enjoy working with the city, and I wanted everyone and you as the constituents of the city and the citizens to know how hard these folks have worked to save you a whole lot of money. So I don't know, budget time is tough. So that's really all I came to say. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much.
I
City Manager.
just primarily want to say that, and I appreciate that you graciously included me in that group of people, but realistically, it's Tracy and Michelle. So They do a great job with this. They bring this stuff to our leadership group. They keep us informed of it. We work through these matters as a team. We make
Right.
good decisions, but they're driving it. And
it's
it's their hard work that is saving us $1 million over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So thank you.
The important part of it is that they communicate it down to the departments, and not a lot of cities do that. They communicate the loss control, and if you can do this and this and this, we'll save this amount of money on our premium this coming year. So it filters down, and you can see it obviously in the monies that you've saved. So thanks for having me. I appreciate you kind of working me in at the last minute, but I just wanted to rah-rah, and I was just kind of tickled. I wanted to share.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We're always happy to receive good news.
I know, right?
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I want to echo what she said about, what Chris said about our Human Resources Department. Michelle and, Kristen, thank you. They work so hard on not only the nuts and bolts and reporting and so forth, but also the activities with all of the city staff for wellness and safety awareness and so forth, and that takes everybody. So I want to congratulate the leadership, but also the collaboration of everybody here at the city. And what's cool is that you guys earn it, but I get to go pick up that award at the League of Oregon Cities at the reception for City County Insurance because of your good work. So thank you. I get to, it's fun. All right. Thank you so much. I'd like to call up Joanne Leadingham, who's going to talk about a funding strategy for our homeless programs. And you also have her memo that she has prepared. And Tracy, you have a copy of that? Okay. Joanne, if you would just introduce yourself and your city of residence, and the time is yours.
Joanne Leadingham. I live in Keizer.
All right.
Proud to live in Keizer. I came up with this idea, thinking how can the people that have homes help the people that don't? It would be an ongoing funding. You wouldn't be having to apply for money anywhere because it would be generated here. It's a 0.1%. We can say it's a donation. We could call it a tax or a fee, but we could say it was a good deed, a 0.1% good deed that comes off your closing statement when you sell a residence. It would be any kind of residence. Apartment buildings, condos, mobile home parks. If somebody lives there, then it qualifies. I have some things that wouldn't. If you were changing title due to a family estate or death in the family or a divorce, that wouldn't happen. If it's a foreclosure, the seller wouldn't pay when the lender took it back and fixed it up, then that would pay. It would pay at that time. So it doesn't raise your taxes. It doesn't raise your rents, and it's ongoing. Ideally, it could be statewide, but it has to start somewhere. I presented this to the city of Salem, and from the feedback I've gotten so far is it's with their attorneys that they liked it. Jimmy Jones at Arches liked it. I've put it out there a few places, and today's the day I put it here. So I made copies of it. I'll leave a few back there, and you all have what you have. The same thing is here. If you would like to ask me any questions on it.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if I'm reading this correctly, these funds would be managed by the county commissioners?
They would, well, if the county was involved, whatever the jurisdiction was involved. If you wanted to do it just at Keizer, then the money would go to Keizer.
So who would be managing the funds? That's
The city council would say where the money went. If you wanted to do it, you would be giving it out to nonprofits, no doubt, and you would say where it went. It would be your money to spread as you wanted. You could save it up and wait till you wanted a big building. You could, whatever you wanted, as long as it went for transitional homeless things. And no other jurisdiction could get your money. Say this ended up being a great idea and it went statewide. That means that Portland couldn't take Ashland's money. Wherever that property sold, that's the jurisdiction that gets it. So this should make it proportional to the need. So it's an idea that hasn't been done before. It's a new stream of money that would be ongoing. I mean, and nobody has to pay a whole bunch of it ever. And it's coming out of the seller's pocket. They always, I'm a retired realtor, they leave the money, the escrow with money. You don't want to put it on the owner or the buyer because they're scrimping to get in. So this 0.1%, a $1 million home, it's going to have to kick in $1,000 for the homeless. And I'd be embarrassed to be selling a $1 million home and not give $1,000 to the homeless. I mean, anyhow, this is my idea. It's, if you're selling a $250,000 home, $250 would go to Keizer's homeless fund to be dispersed as the way Keizer wanted to disperse it. So this is my idea. It's new. It's a new stream of funding that hasn't been done before. And I think if it came up to vote, it could win because there's more renters than there are owners. Every one of those owners that has an apartment building has 20 or so people that would vote for it. Anyhow, this is my idea. I think it would work. Anyhow, that's it. I've given
Councilor
you.
Kohler, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Joanne, thank you for coming tonight. One of the questions I have is, how much do you think this would generate
Well,
on an annual basis?
When I first started working on this, I was thinking of doing a flat fee of $100, and then I realized proportionally that's not right. The smaller people houses, they would have the same 100. So, and when I was doing it at that point, it was a $1.12 million for MLS. I went by MLS's numbers on just residences. But then when I changed to this 1.1%, that's going to just blow that number out of the weeds. I'm thinking 3 million or more annually. So we need to have somebody that knows how to run those figures and knows where to get them. I'm a creative thinker. I'm not a politician, and I don't have a lot of resources, and I'm old, so I am, and I can't do all the legwork and do everything on here that has to be done to make this happen. But I've got the idea that I want to share, and that's what I have to share is what's here. So it's a new idea.
You have a question? Okay, Council President Freeman?
I'm sorry, Councilor Clare, were you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So Joanne, I just have a question. I know you said you're not a politician. I'm okay with that, but have you approached any of our state senators or representatives?
Okay, this is what I've done. I was part of the St. Monica's thing that happened on Apple Blossom. So I met Jimmy Jones there. So, and Jim Seymour. Okay, so Jim Seymour, he turned me on to Dale Penn Jr., who is a lobbyist. So I went over to the Capitol with Jim, and I met Dale. Dale loved it. He said, take it upstairs to the governor's office. Give it to James LaBar. So I don't get to see James LaBar. I put a note on it for James LaBar. And then I have a Facebook friend that works there. She got it. The League of, is it the League of Cities?
League of Oregon
Cities. And then there's the Council of, or whatever, of the commissioners. Okay, those people all have it.
AOC.
Yeah, and then there's a Rachel something in Portland that's a representative that somebody told me that was her bag. Oh, Mike Ellison told me that was her thing. She's got it. I've been to the, I pitched it twice for the Democrats, once at their lunch and then once at one of their nighttime meetings. That's where it's been. So there's people that know it's out there. So one of you people that like this needs to contact somebody else that likes it and make this happen.
Thank you.
So I'm just giving you the creative idea.
So I appreciate, first of all, like so many leaders in our community, doing effective things to make sure that we have the appropriate resources to take care of people in our community who are homeless. Has been top of mind throughout Marion Polk counties. As I shared with you before the meeting, I'm the chair of the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative Steering Committee, and we have a number of balls that are moving forward right now to accomplish these goals of increasing our resourcing. And we always appreciate, new ideas to look at ways to make sure that we have appropriate facilities and.
Well, I'm on the Facebook thing with the Homeless Coalition.
That's a separate.
That's a different group?
Yes, it
There's
is.
a zillion of you groups.
550
Well, see,
nonprofits.
if you're just a person sitting there thinking about this problem at home, I don't know all this stuff. I don't know where to go with it. So I'm throwing it in your lap, this great idea I have, and see if any of you want to pursue it or think it would work for you. I was told that it could even be done without being voted on. I don't know if that person knew what they were talking about, but that the council could make that kind of a decision without taking it to the public as a resolution of some kind. I don't know.
You probably didn't hear it from any of us.
Okay, well, then, okay, so I learned something new today.
But what I would also encourage you to do is, later on in our agenda, we are going to hear about our partnership that we have with the city of Salem for providing housing. Shelley, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the last name right. Yeah, sorry. And Inger? Okay, she is here from Salem tonight to talk about the work we are doing collaboratively with Salem on meeting housing needs. So I encourage you to stay here for a little bit and hear her presentation. And then we will also, I will take this also to the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative, see if there's a space there for these kinds of ideas, because I think you're right. I appreciate Council President Freeman's comment that this is probably more of a state level than a local in the types of action that would be necessary to
It's going to have to have, the real estate agency is going to have input on it. There's going to have to be
Yes, there will be.
paperwork for listing agreements.
Exactly.
There's-
So this is something larger than probably small jurisdictions, but if this is part of the larger conversation that the state wants to have in terms of options for revenues that are specifically targeted toward producing transitional housing, that probably the state is probably the right level. Appreciate you coming and bringing your idea. So stay tuned. We're going to hear from Shelley, I think, next.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very much. I wasn't
Thank you.
watching the lights.
So with that introduction, I believe that, is there anybody else who wants to address the council for public testimony? Because then we're going to go to administrative action while Tracy tees this up for item 8A, which is the 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, the City of Salem Program Manager, Shelley Edinger?
Perfect.
Yes. I'm sorry for stumbling on your name, but I'm delighted that you are here tonight.
Thank you, and it's perfect what you said.
Okay. So Tracy is queuing up the PowerPoint, and hopefully that will also appear on the television screens when that comes up. Just to remind folks that we recently received the report from City of Salem about the partnership that we have for our community development block grant funds and our home funds. And I'm delighted you're here to tell us more about that so we can get out in the community.
Absolutely.
City Manager, I'll let you lead in.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually don't have anything else other than it's your show. So,
Well, I have two PowerPoint presentations that we're working on to bring up. One is the annual action plan, the 2019-20 annual action plan. And the other one, I thought it was important for us to kind of look at the home consortium agreement that was signed 2002, I believe, so that we could all be on the same page, and if changes needed to happen, how that would take place and things of that nature.
All right.
Super. They're both right here, so I'll let you go from there. Super. From the beginning. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Clark, council members, and City Manager Epley. I'm Shelley Ahinger, Federal Programs Manager for the Urban Development Department. I am based out of the city of Salem. However, I work for both the cities of Salem and Keizer as it comes to the home program. What is the annual action plan? That's usually the question most people ask me. And it's really a guide for determining how federal funds because the city of Salem receives also CDBG, I say federal funds versus just the home program, how those funds will be used. In 2014, there was a consolidated plan. It was a 5-year plan of needs in both the cities of Salem and Keizer. And that consolidated plan set out the goals and objectives for the next 5 years for both the home and CDBG program. This is the 5th and final year action plan for that consolidated annual plan, that consolidated plan, that 5-year plan. We are in the process at this particular time. We recently procured an organization out of Portland to assist us in putting together the new 5-year plan. We had the pleasure of Shane Wickham, did I say Witham, to sit on the review panel for determining who would be the successful entity that we would use. And his input was very important as part of that process, so I want to thank both he and Nate again for agreeing to sit on that panel so that we could make sure from the very beginning that the city of Keizer was part of the process for this next consolidated plan, which will be years 2020 through 2024. The annual action plan, however, is the budget that we use for determining CDBG and home program allocations, as well as how local partners will use these federal funds. The city of Salem does not provide any of those services directly. We contract out with for-profit developers and or nonprofit entities to carry out those programs. They submit an application, and from those applications, we select how those funds will be used. When we put together the annual plan, and I say we, it is a community effort. We looked at the City of Salem strategic plan. We looked at the City of Keizer's revitalization plan, the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Initiative, and some of the ongoing works that Mayor Clark spoke about a moment ago, as well as the continuum of care reports and the assessments from the point in time count in which we participate in. In addition, we look at some urban renewal area plans that are laid out saying what it would like to accomplish in the upcoming year. So we take all of those different plans and we try to then synthesize from there where the needs are at and where those plans say they're going to address homelessness and or housing for persons of low and moderate income. This is the most recent funding cycle. Applications were submitted to in a public manner. We send out a notice. The notice is posted here in your Civic Center. In addition, it is posted in the library of the City of Salem, on the City of Salem's website, as well as we send it out notices to individual organizations or persons of interest throughout both Salem and Keizer. It was in February that the notice was published. It's also published in the Salem Statesman Journal. We also sent it to the Salem Keizer Coalition for Equality, as well as Emergency Housing Network, the Salem Keizer NAACP, the Salem Keizer Collaboration Team meetings that are held at the Kroc Center. So we try to make sure we get it to a broad audience. In March, the application period closed, and then the staff, being myself and one other person, reviewed it just to make sure that it met the criteria that's established by the federal government. Once that has been determined, the applications were then given to a work group. The work group was comprised of individuals who either live and or work in Salem and Keizer. And there was a citizen who was selected for Keizer. Regrettably, that person was not able to meet the obligation when the time came. We wanted to make sure it was someone who was independent, someone who was not part of the community of applicants, so that we can avoid any conflict of interest. The person had expressed an interest, and we had reached out to the person on numerous occasions to get the information to them.
Can I press pause there? Okay, it is on. So in reaching out for recruiting somebody from Keizer, could we talk about at some point, maybe we could partner with you through our volunteer coordinating committee process? Because we do recruitments all the time for committees and commissions, and that might be something where we could be more proactively engaged.
Most certainly. And just so you'll know, the person, because I certainly would not want to name anyone in a manner that may not be positive for that person, but the person that was selected was the individual that the council had sent over who was going to serve on that commission. So we had reached out, and the city was very responsive in getting us someone to look at.
So maybe we can do something, because I do remember that appointment, and it didn't go through our volunteer coordinating process, so if we get a little more advanced notice, we could actually put it out through our networks and have a broader net, so to speak,
Super.
where we might be able to get someone recruited that would be able to fulfill that.
And we may get a secondary person, a primary person, then maybe a secondary person, so we can make sure that input is done. I agree with you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. After the work group completed looking at all of the applications, the applications were ranked based upon their score. And those applications that had the highest score were the ones who received recommendation for funding in this annual action plan. It was based totally on the scores. The work group did not meet to say these are the scores and I think this person should get 20 and this person should get, they were scored independently. The numbers were then picked up, they were put together by staff, and that ranking took place from there. After that, we had the public process where public could comment. That was from April the 19th to May 20th. So for 30 days, there was the notice in regards to public comment. We did receive some comments from individuals in relationship to the plan itself and responded in kind. Then the public hearing was held here as well as in the city of Salem. HUD is now in the process of reviewing that application, and they are the ones to determine whether or not it meets their standards, not particularly about each individual program, however, whether or not we did the process in accordance with federal regulations. After that, we would enter into agreements with those individual entities, and then we will monitor them, and we will then track outcomes to make sure that those things they said they would provide are provided. And then the application process begins again. How will the home funds be used? To preserve and expand existing affordable housing, or preserve existing affordable housing and expand affordable housing, and to prevent and reduce homelessness. In 2019-2020, this is how much in home funds were received. From the federal government, $750,949, and program income, and that's from years ago when there was a single-family rehab program. There were loans that were made to those individuals, and should a person choose to refinance, or they sell their home, or just wish to pay off the loan, that is considered to be program income by the federal government. So there's $275,000, and that's projected $275,000. And then last year, there was $240,000 that was not committed. So that's uncommitted prior year allocation. That combined amount is what was announced to the public that was available for 2019-2020. This is a spreadsheet showing you from 2016 how much in home fund, how many applications we've received. And you will notice in 2019, which is this past year, we received 2 applications. And there are a lot of reasons why we received only 2 applications. One is because the home program is perhaps the most complex program that the federal government offers. It's very narrow in relationship to how you can use the money, and unfortunately, a lot of our development partners are just really not interested in entering into a 20-year agreement for perhaps $100,000, $200,000. We have to commit the funds within a 2-year period, and they have to be expended within a 5 additional year period. So for us to bank those dollars, we could not hold them any more than 2 years, or else it's like your community wouldn't really need them. And we have to continue to fund those programs that are applying. But once again, this is kind of a chart of applications. Last year, the application pool included new construction on Portland Road. And even though that's not within the city limits of Keizer, there are families who come and make application off of Portland Road because they still work in Keizer, and that's within that area of where families want to live. In 2015, however, and in 2016, home resources went towards St. Monica Project, which is the one I believe that Joanne spoke about, as well into Chamawa, which is located on Chamawa Road. It was 2 Catholic Community Services projects that had an infusion of capital, and that was prior to that, the Salem Keizer CDC had years of capital that was provided to them because they were our Community Housing Development Organization, or CHODO, and we're required to spend a minimum of 15% of these resources for a Community Housing Development Organization's projects. Here you'll see the recommendations for this year and the 2019-20 year, and one is Nueve Luz, which is a 42-unit apartment complex that's going to be in West Salem. Willamette Neighborhood Housing Services is the sponsor. They are currently the CHODO, and so there's a CHODO set aside, and that's why they were eligible for those resources. The security deposit program that the city of the Salem Housing Authority submitted, and of course the Salem Housing Authority lease families in the city of Keizer. You'll see that the amount that they requested was $90,000. You will see that the funding recommendation, however, was for $270,000. And I'll explain to you why. It's a simple situation of families need security deposits, and the Salem Housing Authority needs to know that it's going to have the monies in place. This is a 3-year allocation. They had been receiving resources, then the federal government would not pass a budget, so they would tell families, we don't have the monies. Then families would go without the housing opportunity because they need the security deposit to help them get established for their first month's rent. And so we felt that it was a recommendation to say we will have $270,000 available to residents of Salem and Keizer for security deposits, no matter where they go. It could be private or not, and the family will not have to pay the security deposits back. Security deposits now are running over $1,000 for a family. And this will help families get that capital that they need. They do not, once again, pay it back. They, however, have to be income eligible and have to be living either in Salem or Keizer. The second project, or the third project, is the Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program, or TBRA. And Family Promise of Mid-Willamette Valley, which many know as Salem Interfaith Hospitality Network, is a faith-based organization that has been in place for several years. Local churches, including Clear Lake United Methodist Church and other churches, participate in having families move from one church facility a week to another church facility. In that interim period, while they're doing that transition, they can apply through Family Promise for more permanent, more stable housing, and the Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program provides rent up to a 24-month period for those families. Those persons are homeless, and they focus on families with children. So we know that in the Salem Keizer School District, there is a large population of children who are homeless, and this is one way for us to meet that population. You'll see once again that they applied for $200,000, and we are recommending they get $473 so more families can receive that rental assistance over a steady 2-year program. Next step, as I said, HUD is reviewing the annual action plan, and then the city will enter into contractual agreements with subrecipients. That's what we call our grantees. And then the projects and programs will be implemented, monitored, and tracked. This is an overview of what the home program for 2019-2020 is, and I'm happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shelley. This has been very informative, and I really want to encourage people with the programs you were talking about have been so successful in helping families, helping individuals be able to leave homelessness and be securely housed. The rental assistance, I know that first and last month, those deposits are a huge barrier. So thank you for this. It's been very interesting. Questions from council? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was looking in the report. I saw some information that Salem currently has 245 public housing units and expects to have another 80 more. Is that over the next 18 months? Does Keizer have any of those public housing units as well, or is that unique to Salem?
There are no public housing units in the city of Keizer that I am aware of. And I used to run the Marion County Housing Authority, so I had some jurisdiction in regards to traditional public housing. I think the additional 80 units, because HUD is no longer entering into agreements for traditional public housing. What the additional 80 units, I believe, are Fisher Road, the Salem Housing Authority, through some CDBG money and through some monies from the state, will be assisting families or individuals who are homeless, some of the hardest to house, to live in a property that's transitional housing or I should say, transitional housing for a period of time, and then they will be eligible for a Section 8 voucher. But there are no new public housing units. And then I know that the Salem Housing Authority is also in the process of taking Yaquina Hall, which is a property located on the state hospital grounds, and they will be renovating those units to also assist individuals who are homeless and or who have severely mental ill, have been determined to be severely mental ill. They will also be housed within that property. And I know some home funds, as well as community development block grant resources, state tax credit resources, and other funds will be going into that particular project.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Other questions?
I have one.
Council President Freeman?
Hi, Shelley. Good to see you. For those that are watching at home or online, and I'm trying to run through here, and so forgive me, but I'm going to ask. So the people that you're serving are 60% area median income, 80%, 50 or below?
Home is for 60% of area median income or less. We are required to have at least 30%, I believe, of our families to be very low income. So we are going after the 30% population so that we can make sure those who have the most modest amount of income are the ones that are getting this support.
Perfect. And that's reason I asked the question is I want everyone to understand that the people that you are trying to serve through these dollars are of the very lowest income means in our community. And it's not that other people are not needing, let there be light.
All right.
Services, but these are really meant for the extremely very low income people in our community. So thank you.
That is correct. Thank you.
Also, with some of the programs you mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for folks in the community to get involved. Family Promise and others are great places for folks who want to get involved, volunteer, and help raise funds as well to help fund these programs, because this is not the only source of income for these programs, but you are one of the many partners, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
All right. So if people want to learn more about this program, where can they find information online?
Well, and we're more than happy to put my name on your website as well, but this is the City of Salem's website, and this link could be put in. This is also the page you would go to find out when there are resources available, how we're happy to come out, speak to nonprofit organizations or for-profit developers to explain to them what the program is and how they can be successful in submitting an application. We are anticipating that our next application will open next January 2020, because we're in the process of now of gathering data for that 2020-2024 consolidated plan. And then after that's put together, that's when the priorities will be brought back to council in regards to what those numbers show. And then from there, we will submit the applications based upon those priorities.
So, Chris, can we get this linked on our website, please?
We can.
All right. We will get that on our website as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking your time to be with us
Oh,
tonight.
thank you. It's my pleasure.
Okay. That will take us now then to, let's go on to item 8B, which is a waiver of community center rental fee for the Keizer Chamber Foundation Volunteer Board Training. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the last couple of years, the the Keizer Chamber Foundation has been holding their annual volunteer board training here, and we, and by we I mean you, have agreed to waive the fees the last 2 years for that event here at the community center in exchange for our volunteers who serve on our boards being able to attend that training. Keizer Chamber Foundation is a 501c3, so located in Keizer. They're asking for a waiver of the room rental and the security and cleaning deposit. The room rental fee for the use of the room for this event would be about $450, and the refundable security cleaning deposit would be $750. As outlined in the City of Keizer Resolution 2018-2932, City Council may reduce or waive rates, deposits, or other costs for certain uses if in the council's sole discretion the use is significant benefit to the Keizer community, considering such factors as the city's fixed and non-fixed costs, staff resources, wear and tear on the facility, and other factors deemed appropriate by the council. City Council does not have the ability to waive the requirement for proof of general liability insurance, which is something that you all changed recently. In 2018, the City Council approved a waiver of the rental fee and security cleaning deposit for this event, but charged for event staffing of $120 and required a certificate of general liability insurance. So there are 4 different options for you to consider, and it is recommended the City Council discuss the request, consider the options presented, and then direct staff accordingly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Are there questions on the staff report? Councilor Parsons?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to let council know that the Keizer Chamber Foundation is not affiliated with the chamber. And I guess they're in the process of changing their name, but that costs a little bit of money. But just know that this is not a chamber ask. It's a separate entity. So I just wanted to make that clear.
I was not aware of that. Thank you. Councilor Herrera?
Thanks for that, by the way. Just out of curiosity, how well attended is that by our committee people or board members or whatnot?
Well, not very well. It was the first year, and the feedback we received that it was less applicable for board members for the kind of work we do versus members of sort of not-for-profit or 501c boards.
Which brings me to my next point. A friend of mine, pastor that I know, attended it, and he said it was good for something, but it wasn't like for what he wanted, but it was I guess pretty much what you said there. So I guess my point is, if we're really using it, then it's a good deal. I mean, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our attendance from our boards and committees has been pretty low recently because it has been found to be not as applicable for our particular purposes.
Thank you.
Council President Freeman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So that was going to be something I brought up. I see that they're bringing the Oregon Community Foundation in to help people learn how to write grants. Our committees here don't write grants, our committee members. That's a staff function, as Nate. We're smiling together, Nate, because we know. And from a former nonprofit life, you can need all of the help you can get on learning how to write a great grant, even working for government, right, Shelley? So I'm struggling with this because I'm really not sure how our committees actually will benefit. And I know being the liaison to the volunteer coordinating committee in the past, we have not held our normal meetings, so those committee members could actually attend this event. And I'm not really sure what the benefit in the last couple years, again, is to our committee members.
Our brand of volunteer.
Our brand of volunteers and what our volunteers do for the city.
Right.
We don't have a volunteer grant writing committee, but you know, maybe that would be helpful at some point in time. But I'm just not sure what the benefit is directly to us. Thank you.
Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I definitely see the point that it may not benefit the city directly, but I think that it is definitely a benefit to the different organizations within the city, particularly the nonprofits. I know I've been a part of several boards that have benefited from this, and so even if it's not directly benefiting us, I see it as a very, very effective sort of community service. So I just kind of wanted to share that perspective of it. So even though, you know, it may or may not be particularly useful to us.
So does this decision need to be made tonight? Because my next question kind of hinges on that. And that is, have we had a conversation with Keizer United, which is such a great gathering of so many local nonprofits, to see if this might be a partnership with them? And then come back with what would that look like in terms of who's going to pay for what, but also how many people might be interested, if this might be a collaboration. So since Keizer United is already funded through the city, if this might be a way that we could get at how this could be used and where those funds might come from. City Manager, what do you think?
Well, yeah, the event is scheduled for October 10th, so it appears as though you do have at least a couple of weeks.
I know it's kind of close. Summer goes fast around here, seriously.
Well, we have
Yeah.
at least a dozen concerts to occur prior to this event, so.
Councilor Herrera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. You said there are two different entities?
I'm sorry?
Chamber?
Yes, they are.
Now, and who is a contact person for this particular function?
Lori Christopher is the one who's brought the petition to us. I'm not positive.
It's either her or Kelly Walter, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
And
she's
they
our
belong to the Chamber Foundation?
No, I think that they're just doing they're carrying the paper.
No, they're on the board of the chamber.
Is Lori on the
Foundation,
board? She's
but
on the
they're not
foundation
part
board?
of the chamber.
And do they
Okay,
have
I
other
understand what you're
functions
saying.
here, or is that the only thing they do?
That's all they do here.
Thank you very much.
So the Chamber Foundation doesn't do other events here. The Chamber of Commerce is the one that does their annual first and so forth, and that's completely separate now.
Separate.
Okay, because that wasn't always the case, I don't think.
Not at the beginning, I don't believe, but it is. They've torn apart a long time ago.
All right,
I mean, not torn apart, but.
they
Separated
separated.
ways.
Thank you.
All right. So I would like, our representative to Keizer United is Councilor Herrera? Yes? Would you, and then Chris, would you assist in outreach to Meredith Mooney, who I believe is the chair of Keizer United, and have a conversation about what this might look like? And then come back with maybe another recommendation.
Kind of why I was asking who the contact person was.
All right.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much. So we will move forward with that at this point. Let's go on then to item 8C, which is resolution establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing R 2018-2873. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 1 second while I get there real quick. All right. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. For those of you, except the brand-new councilors, might remember this each year. The City of Salem has a System Development Charge, or SDC, for wastewater treatment. There's also a different one, just so you know, for future reference, that is our own, and that's for the lines themselves. But Salem runs a sewer plant, and so there's an SDC for that. Each year, there's usually an increase, and Salem is a pass-through agreement because we have to actually impose that. So we actually adopt that fee, but the money is passed through minus a small administrative charge to the City of Salem. So it's that time of year when they do that. I've attached a resolution based on the figures that they gave us, and it is before you tonight for adoption. I'll again remind the mayor that it is not a public hearing, but you need to ask to see if there's any public comment on the fee. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Is there anybody here who would like to address the council on this fee? All right. Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing Resolution R 2018-2873.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing Resolution R 2018-2873.
Sorry.
Beam me up.
It's just a bird flying overhead.
And we are all reminded to make sure your phone is on mute.
It's Monday.
I'll share the story of what happened last time somebody didn't do that. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. So last time somebody forgot to mute their phone and they had a unique ringtone. That was Councilor Collier, whose ringtone happened to be Looney Tunes. And although we didn't have to say anything, I could not resist, and the next thing I said was, I believe you better answer that, Mark. Boy's coffee almost came out her nose. So, anyway, with that, from wastewater to, let's go on to the next item, which is item 8D, the request for allowance for additional dates at Keizer Rotary Amphitheater. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I apologize for the sound. Our priest always tells us on Sunday to turn off our phones unless you want to become part of his homily. So, and you don't want to be part of Father Gary's homily, I promise. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. As Mr. Holland indicated earlier, he has come with a request to increase the number of events at Keizer Rotary Amphitheater this year and adding movies. There is in the agreement with KRA, or Keizer Rotary Amphitheater Group, there's an allowance for no less than 8 and no more than 12 concert theater movie series each year. That includes individual nights, so the theater, for example, is counted as 3 nights or 4 nights, whichever it is. In addition, no more than 8 of the dates was on a Saturday. The concept there, trying to keep a Saturday open, I think, was the concept when that agreement was done. At this time, there's a total of 16 events, with 10 of the dates being on Saturday, and Clint is requesting approval from the council to allow 2 additional dates to be on a Saturday and to add a total of 4 additional concerts. In addition, requesting the possibility, not certain yet, of 2 additional nights for movies. And so it's before you to consider that request. In the past, the council has allowed those. And you can see in the recommendation, it's in any combination that you would like. Add the movies, don't add the movies, add the dates for the concerts or not, or any combination, or all that the request that Clint has made. Consistent with what we've done in the past, the motion would be allow the additional events to be added to the free concert series and require only the application fee and deposit for the events. But you can choose to handle it in any fashion that you wish to.
That was option rich. Thank you. Questions on the staff report? Council President Freeman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So have we, in previous years, when we've added the additional concerts on Saturday nights, have we had other interested parties whom have wanted those Saturday nights? I've not heard of anything, that's why I'm just asking the question, since we're adding additional, technically, concerts and/or movies or all, so I'm just curious.
None that we've tracked. We haven't had anybody that we've had to bump who had a previously scheduled event and we had to call them and say, hey, you can't get married this night or something like that. That being said, because we publish those days and we block them out, we don't know how many other events would or would not want to reserve the facility but can't. So it's an unknown factor.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Councilor Reed?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have two questions. Just first of all, clarifying that this is a waiver rather than amending of the original agreement, right?
Right.
So this is just a yearly kind of...
Right. The agreement allows for Mr. Holland to approach the council and ask for additional nights.
Okay. And my other question is, have we heard from any of the neighbors as far as the concerts or noise, or is this going to be upsetting neighbors if we allow these further dates?
We heard from neighbors early on when the concerts began so many years ago, but KRA has done a really good job of limiting their volume and including the neighbors and putting out information on their website so the neighbors know what concerts they can listen to in their backyards, et cetera, et cetera. And we've planted, trees and put up a fence and some other things to sort of mitigate some of that noise. And so I believe that those efforts have gone a long way.
So we haven't heard any...
Not recently. We have not heard
lately.
recent complaints regarding the noise.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Herrera?
To follow up on that, I have two friends that live on there in that area, and we've done such a great job. They actually evolved into really enjoying it. And as far as the bumping, I think Clint's done such a great job on these concerts that people already kind of expect something happening there, and they look forward to it. It's kind of a. I mean, I know that we had thought, well, we're going to do this. Well, no, we have concerts there that we need, So I think that's kind of a well-established situation for the whole summer, as far as I've seen. It's pretty successful. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. So one question is, Keizer Homegrown Theater is listed, so is this now part of the contract? Because I thought Keizer Homegrown had its own agreement with the city for doing Shakespeare in the Park. I'm confused.
No, they've always done under.
They've always been under yours, okay. So we've had concerts, a certain list, and then the band's pre-approved, and then since Keizer Homegrown Theater started doing Shakespeare in the Park, and this is what, 7 years?
Wow.
Wow.
Do we know who they're doing this year?
As you like it.
Do we know what? Oh, okay, got it. As you like it.
As you like it is the show for the summer.
Okay.
And then, so you're starting in June, and normally it's in July. So that's the Abbey Road. And then, so the additions are the September 7 and September 14. Why don't you come up to, if you would, so that way people at home will be able to hear our conversation. Thank you, Clint. So are the 7th and 14th are the ads?
Say that again?
September 7 and September 14 are the 2 ads for concerts? Hope United and Gabriel Cox.
They're concerts, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Ask us for the movies, I believe.
Right.
The movies aren't on here
okay,
because I just got somebody that's interested in sponsoring that.
okay.
I couldn't do that unless I got sponsors for it.
It says, but there's 4, so the request is though to allow 2 additional dates to be on Saturday and to add 4 additional concerts. That's what the staff report says.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I don't think any particular one is an added one, if you know what I mean. I mean, the schedule's just expanded. And so Clint comes up with the schedule, and it depends on what's available and when it's available. So a lot of times, he doesn't know, I assume, way in advance what bands you're going to be able to get.
Right.
And so at the beginning of the season, oftentimes, sometimes earlier than this, but sometimes not, there'll be a request for 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so if, you can't really point to one and say, well, this is the extra. It's just the total number is more. Is that pretty much
Plus, yes, plus we have to get them approved through the committee. If the bands are okay that we're doing.
Okay, that helps. I appreciate that. Costs. So at the end of the season, right now, the city sponsors, and we've been at the same level, I think, all 7 years.
Right.
But the number of concerts has grown, and more and more sponsors are joining in, which you've done a great job getting more and more businesses involved. I remember there was a conversation last year about the level of sponsorship for the city, and we didn't discuss it during the budget. But if there is this point, as this has expanded, because clearly I agree with Councilor Herrera, the popularity of this and the expectation now that Saturday night in Keizer, you're down at the park. You're having a great time. If you're not at the ball field, you're at the other end of Shamawa, listening to a concert and, again, gathering together with community. So we've got both ends of Shamawa Road covered for community family time. So at some point, and maybe tonight's not the night to do that, but if, as you're looking at the numbers and the expansion of the cost, the expansion of the popularity for additional funds that would be appropriate for making our sponsorship commensurate with other sponsors, that might be a good conversation to have.
Right. When we first started on this 7 or 8 years ago, the city was going to do 6,000 on the free concert, but never could get it in the budget. So 2,000 was the only amount that's been done, not every year, but in the last 3 years, I think.
Okay, and so, again, this would be general fund, but this might be more appropriate with, since it's clearly travel and tourism related, since we're bringing people in from all over. I talk to people down at the park. There's people coming in from everywhere for these concerts now. Word's gotten out, by the way.
Where's who?
This is the place to come.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many people talk about coming to the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're very lucky. We've got some great sponsors, or we wouldn't be able to do this. We've never lost a sponsor. We just need to get more sponsors, and it takes a lot of time to do that.
So if you would, I know you're very busy right now booking the bands and so forth, but what kind of sponsorships other sponsors are doing, and if there is a potential for what would be appropriate for the city, that would be a good conversation to have. Maybe work with our city staff for something at a future council meeting.
Okay.
I'd appreciate that. Any other questions on this proposal? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we're not doing the free concerts in the park, then it would be available for someone to rent for an event or like a wedding you talked about?
Correct.
What is the possible revenue that we're going over, we're stepping over there?
I don't know. Tim, do you remember what it costs? I mean, what are we forgoing per half day? Isn't it per half day that we rent that out?
4 hours, I think, is the
Right.
minimum block. I want to say it's about $400 for that 4-hour block.
Yeah. So
I think that's for the full day, the 400. Yeah. I think it's left for 4 hours, or less on 4 hours.
okay.
At the park, yeah.
So you
Now,
figure.
Allison has called me over the last 3 years a couple times, and I've given up dates that I had because I hadn't filled the contract yet. So I had given certain dates up if somebody's interested in something big, including one of your city council members was going to get married out there. Then at the last minute she changed and said no, they're going to have it at, because she couldn't work somehow the beer out that she wanted to do, or the wine. So she had it at McNary instead.
So I don't have a great answer for you because I would be guessing on the number of events, but the total maximum would be 400 times the number of events that we're foregoing. So 16 times. Yeah, Shannon?
And I don't know either. I know Allison does the bookings on these, and I think, frankly, what she usually suggests to people is for Sundays if they want to look at setting the wedding dates. 'Cause it's
And we
usually
do, and we
available
do, and we
Sundays.
do have events on Sundays
Yeah.
that occur out there.
There's a lot of churches there on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And there's events during the week, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Council President Freeman?
I move the Keizer City Council direct staff to approve the 4 additional concerts and 2 movie nights.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer direct staff to allow the 2 additional Saturday concerts and, 4 additional concerts and 2 movie nights at Keizer Rapids Park.
With one up, sorry, I didn't finish.
With
the
what?
With, and
application
require
fee and
only
deposit.
the 1 application fee and deposit for the events. So it's all one package deal, not separate.
Is that accepted?
Yeah, let's accept that too. Second.
All right. So with that friendly amendment.
Madam Mayor, I think
sir.
the application fee is a per event. Is that correct?
Per event, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it the intention to do the application fee per event as with the rest of the contract?
Yes, I was just reading off here. It says require only the application fee and deposit for the event. So that's additional to what Clint's paying?
It's per event. So when it says require the additional, it should say per event in there.
I feel
Okay.
like I paid $960 for the application stuff this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these will be on top of that.
Well, I'd say he's actually paid it, I think, assuming that these would be granted.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think I've already paid all these, I
Yeah, I
think.
believe
Except
so.
maybe not the last one. I'll have to
Okay.
ask
I
Allison
just-
on that.
I want to make sure we're all clear. That's,
Are we clear? Do we need to restate? Tracy says yes, please.
Tracy would like to be more clear.
All right. Let's restate.
okay, so I move the Keizer City Council direct staff to approve 4 additional concerts and 2 movie nights, or any combination as deemed appropriate, and require only the application fee and deposit for the events.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Is that clear? All right. The motion and second has been clarified. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
Keizer is a happening town. Consent calendar, Council President Freeman.
Okay, we have 5 items tonight. We have a resolution authorizing the finance director to sign Springbrook order form for software yearly maintenance. 9B is authorizing the city manager and chief of police to sign peer court intergovernment agreement. 9C is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Salem Keizer School District 24J for school resource officers. Resolution 9D is certification of delinquent sewer accounts. And 9E is approval of the June 3rd, 2019 City Council regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls? Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt the consent calendars, items 9A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Liaison reports. Let's see, who did I pick on last time? So I think I'm starting with Councilor Kohler this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a busy week.
Yes, it has.
Did you want me to go?
On the 12th, I attended the Community Business and Education Leader Collaborative Meeting at the request of Councilor Parsons, and that was a pretty interesting meeting. Mr. Herrera was also there. They discussed a lot of different things, and we got to see some of the results of some of the programs that they've instituted, and I see more exciting things coming from that group. It's very exciting to go to that. On the 13th, in the morning with Mayor Clark, I attended the Latino Business Alliance meeting, and we had a good program there. And then later that same day, I attended the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee meeting. We had a long discussion of traffic along Fifth Avenue Northeast. They talked about crosswalks and speed bumps and planters and all kinds of things, and I think they will probably come up with some kind of a suggestion on some of those things that we can discuss at a later date. Coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. is the Mass of Christian Burial for Mayor Coho at St. Edward's Catholic Church, and there'll be a reception after in the parish hall. I encourage all to attend that. And then on June 26th, I encourage people to come to the Keizer Community Dinner from 5 to 7, also at St. Edward's Catholic Church.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank you, both as a city councilor, but also as a professional with, helping folks with their, end-of-life needs and so forth. You've been a tremendous help to us and to the Coho family, and we are very, very thankful that you've been in the right place and the right person at the right time to assist us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been an honor. There have been a lot of people that, I guess, if I can just say for a second, I've been totally impressed with the number of people in the community that have wrapped their arms around Lori and all Dennis's family with phone calls, with visits, with prayers, with all kinds of extending their condolences and support. I've been totally impressed with how that's worked and the number of people that are willing to step up and make all that possible. But it's been an honor to be a little part of that.
Thank you. And for those who would like to also, they've been asking for contributions to the Willamette chapter for the Scouts.
It's a Cascade Pacific Council, and we're doing that through the Willamette District, which is in Salem. The office is in Salem on Liberty Street.
Want to make sure that gets out there for folks who would like to honor Dennis Coho.
On Facebook, on several of the posts I've seen where there's a link where you can just automatically donate, where you wouldn't have to mail a check or anything.
Great. Appreciate that. And again, thank you. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had a Stormwater Advisory Committee last Tuesday, I think, and things are really happening and moving forward on that, and I really appreciate Elizabeth's expertise and leadership in that, and it's fun to see the new people get on board and see what they have to bring to the table. It's an impressive group. We had the McNary graduation, which we had over, I think it was 412 graduates, and I had been to another graduation, and I'm really impressed with how McNary does. You know, they have the involvement of the staff and the parents, and it's just a very well-run, very well-oiled program, and it's very impressive, and I always love being a part of that. We had a work session on sidewalk obstructions that I'm sure we will be hearing more about. I went to the Chemeketa Ag Center groundbreaking, and that was very cool because one of the things that they'd done that I haven't seen at other groundbreakings is they had groundbreakings through the years, starting with a horse-drawn plow and then a steam engine and then the big tractor. It was very cool. It was very hot, so not very cool, but but a great event nevertheless. We had a personal policy meeting, and I'm new to that group, so I am, again, really impressed with Michelle and Kristen and their expertise and perspectives on that, and so we got some important work done with that. Went to the commissioner breakfast, and the Revitalization Open House is this Thursday at 6 p.m. here at the Civic Center, and we've had some really good public input on that in the past, and we certainly encourage you to come and get your voice heard at this Thursday as well. We have the Keizer Heritage Board annual meeting is coming up on Wednesday, I believe the 27th is that, or Tuesday?
25th.
25th, thank you. So that, again, is an important part of our community. And just reminding you that the first Keizer Rapids concert that we've been talking about is on June 28th. So that is coming up shortly. So And that's a Friday, not a Saturday, so that's a little different. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Probably sounds like a little bit of repeat of Councilor Reed. I'll give you those. We had the Marion County Commissioner Breakfast, lively as always, but just a shout out to them. July 11th through the 14th is the Marion County Fair. And I would encourage everyone to go look at the flower exhibit to see Commissioner Sam Bertano's succulents, because he doesn't win. So please just, support Sam and go look at the flowers. Send him a note, something like that. We did not have planning commission this month. It was canceled. Work session, I attended that too, along with the Personnel Policy Committee. Just a reminder, there is no West Keizer Neighborhood Association meeting for the summer. We won't meet again until September. And I just have a shout out to the parks staff. I was early at Keizer at the Big Toy this weekend, and it was just really nice to see the trash had already been emptied. Ironically, all the trash lids were off in the park Sunday morning, so I'm not sure what that's about, but they just all were. So I put most of them back on just as through my walk, but it just was really nice to see for one, because it's like maybe they're off for a reason, I don't know, but it just was nice because I've been out there before when I've told you there's been trash piled up and all over. And I don't know if we have anyone that patrols like the parking lot or cleans up throughout the park. I know West Keizer used to do Shamawa, and because of the other work that's been contracted through there, we don't clean up that street anymore. So maybe it's something I'll take to the group and just maybe we can walk through the park. Because like the parking lot had trash in it, kind of through the paths there's trash, but not in the park where the garbage cans are. So I'm just wondering if maybe that's a project or something we could take on.
I'll take care of it.
You're gonna take care of it? Okay. Probably if I had my little grabbers or something, it would be great. But I just want to commend that the park's looking really nice and the trash is
Thank you.
picked up.
I'll share that
So
with him. Thank you very much.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before I pass it on, I just got word that another volcano, Franklin Labor, just hit another home run. Boom. Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too attended the Commissioner's Breakfast, and I think I'm going to the Marion County Fair just so I can see these flowers, because Sam was having a fit about it. It was actually hilarious. He showed me a picture on his flip phone. I hadn't seen one of those. Sam, he had the flip phone. Yeah, I was impressed he had a picture on it. So that was fun. They did announce there was a representative, and forgive me, I can't remember his name, from Senator Merkley's office.
Fritz Graham.
Yes.
From Wyden.
Or Wyden, sorry. I was saying, no, I'm kidding. He was there and he mentioned Detroit Lake and the fact that they are confident that they will not be draining the lake, which is great news for us. I asked them about the water situation in Salem, and there's not a current problem with the water in Salem, just to clarify, make sure that's out there. Other than that, I did not have any other committee meetings, so it was fun though, very entertaining as always.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 4th, I had this stormwater meeting. It's still over my head, but I'm getting better. Yeah, on the, yeah. Maybe, on the 12th, I went to the Chamber Board of Directors meeting. They were wrapping up their Keizer Fest, and it was a really good successful year, and it probably would have been a little bit better had we not had a rainstorm in the middle of the Saturday afternoon that flooded the bar area and all that kind of stuff, but they still did a great job. So, and they're all patting themselves on the back, and they're already planning for next year. I also sent them, gave them to Tracy to give copies of the letters, so they could see the letters that we received on their behalf. And I think Keizer Times was going to print a couple of those too, so look for those in there. Coming up, I have the Volunteer Coordinating Committee this Thursday, and we have a record 19 people that we're interviewing for various committees, including the Charter Review Committee. So that might last an hour for the first time in a long time. I mean, it's going to be a long meeting, so hopefully I know our group's going to do a great job, and they've got the packet early and will prepare, so. that'll be fun. On the 26th is Cook's Night Out. This month it's at the Hitching Post. This is also the same night as the St. Ed's dinner, so go to one, then go to the other. That's what I always say. And I believe that Blast Camp filled up in about an hour this year, but Chief will report on that, I'm sure, and let us know. 2 hours. I do know that I had one granddaughter that got in, but her friend did not, so I'll tell you I know it was quick. So anyway, and that's all I have. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Herrera.
Following up on Dennis's passing, I want to extend my appreciation to Councilor Kohler because we were there with that night, and he handled that very professionally and very, for those of us that are pretty excited and he handled that very well, I thought, and I appreciate that a lot. And my condolences to Lori. And we'll, like I say, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, like we talked about. I also attended the collaborative school district, and boy, when I look around the room there, I know Dan was there, and I know you were impressed with the presentations, but it is so wonderful the work that's being done to strengthen our communities and make our communities resilient. And that we'll talk more about that when we were starting the action. We've done a lot of work on it, and we've been working on it for how long?
Oh, about months now.
Months.
Yeah.
And once things come into fruition, I was trying to lobby for Kennedy to be one of the schools, but we're working with Hallman, and there's going to be two schools that we're going to do pilot programs for summertime to keep kids engaged. And beyond that, we're going to be working with parents. So, because that's where it starts. Anyway, also I've been in the Parks Board meeting, which Clinton did a good job of telling us about it. And today I attended Keizer United. That's always well attended, and that the information and the networking in there is priceless. I mean, it's really good. And every time I go, we have new people, and then we meet more people and talk about a lot of our events, and we all have so much in common. And one of the things we do have in common is working together to help our community. And speaking of our community, we were talking about the monetary, about the concerts. No $400 will replace the community event, the fun time, just the great atmosphere, hundreds and hundreds of people there. I mean, I tell you what, that's a no-brainer in my book. Also, last thing, I'm going to be away for some training, but I just want to extend all of the volunteers that have been stepping up and helping Lori and all those people. It's been tremendous, so. Sorry I keep talking about that, but it's all I've talked about in my head lately. And looking forward to meeting Jeff Lynn next week. They're going to be in Portland. ELO, if you don't know who Jeff Lynn is. So I'm kind of excited. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I really appreciate, this last week has been, it's been a tough one. It's been a time of celebrating a person who made a difference in all of our lives in our city. And going out to the ball field this weekend, seeing the 23rd season of Volcanoes, something that would not have happened unless we had had a mayor who was absolutely determined that this was going to happen, and we were going to have a major league affiliate right here in Keizer. And we have benefited from that for all these years. All the young men who have come here, played ball, gone on to play in the majors, they very fondly remember Keizer as the place where they got started, and the families and how they've been welcomed in the community. Speaking of which, this year, El Patron hosted a community night at the restaurant between the All-Stars game and their opening day of the season. Very well attended, and just let the players know, welcome home. You're in a place that really is glad to have you here, and we're going to treat you like family. So welcome to the Volcanoes, and they're currently 3-0, and it looks like they're heading toward another victory tonight.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know what the score is, but at least Franklin just contributed.
Well, it was like 8-0, I think, before he contributed the
All right, well, we got one more over the fence. So speaking of which, Councilor Parsons and I are both host families this year for ball players. So we have some of the players still are going to need housing for the summer, especially the ones that are coming in from the draft. So if you know anybody who would like to become a part of Volcanoes Nation by being a host family, please get a hold of the Volcanoes and let them know that you have a bedroom, something that you can feed them for breakfast and get them to the ball field every day. They pretty much eat, sleep, play baseball, repeat. But it's a lot of fun. Some of the other things going on, over the last couple of weeks. I did go to Dundee City Council to talk about the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative, and the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative Steering Committee will be meeting again next week on the 25th. Let's see, we had the Mid-Willamette Area Commission on Transportation met on the 6th, and I'll have the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation on the 25th, the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. I did go to the retirement reception for Chemeketa Community College President Julie Huckstein. Very well attended event. She has done a tremendous job with the community college, really serving students, helping them be prepared for careers, for going on into their bachelor's degrees or other goals that they might have. And the college has really benefited from her leadership. I want to thank her and welcome Jessica Howard, who will be the incoming president. They've worked closely together, and I think it's going to be a very smooth transition for the students and the staff. Also coming up will be the retirement reception for Matt Garrett, who is the Oregon Department of Transportation Executive Director. He has served for quite a long time, and he's one of the few in this nation that's been able to be at the helm of such a large Department of Transportation as long as he has, and has seen the DOT through a lot of transitions, a lot of changes, great projects, and I'm going to miss him terribly. He's done a fantastic job. This Saturday will be a dedication of a highway sign in honor of Private First Class Ryan Hill. The unveiling will be 10 o'clock, I think it's 10 o'clock, on Saturday morning at the Memorial Park at Keizer Station, and then that will be placed on the highway after that. My bad, it is at 11:30, so I'm glad I looked. And Heritage Museum, or Heritage Foundation, you announced that. I will be out of town on July 1st for family reasons, so Council President Freeman, you will have the gavel.
Okay, get with it.
I also want to extend our sympathies to Salem City Councilor Sally Cook. Friday night, her husband passed away very suddenly, Jason Cook. So our thoughts are with Sally Cook and her family. So with that, I'd like to then to go to, I will have a card, by the way, at the council office. I didn't have time to go and get that. It was a news that came across my news feed today. So I'll have a card in our council office for you all to sign. In other business, this time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tracy? Tim? Chief?
5K foot pursuit for Special Olympics Marion County is July 27th at 10 a.m. at Keizer Rapids Park. You can register online at the city of Keizer, www.keizer.org/police. 5K foot pursuit. Thank you.
Very good. Bill?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you update us a little bit on the River Road project and when paving will start?
I don't know.
Okay.
Contractors we haven't had a pre-construction meeting. They have not submitted a schedule yet. I know they're working for Marion County right now, but I really don't know when they're going to start. It'll be after the 1st of July in the new budget year and before the middle of September. But as soon as I have dates, I will let you know.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
Talk about grants reminded me that if you will remember, we applied for a rail grant from the Federal Rail Administration. We finally got notice that we did not receive the grant. So
It arrived by train?
Pony Express.
Well, we knew from the start that it was a very long shot, and it was apparently too long of a shot. So we did receive notice of that. And as Councilor Reed pointed out, that we have our stakeholder meeting for the revitalization project, that it is this Thursday night at 6. We have sent specific invitations to our stakeholder group, but the public is welcome. It's not a public hearing, but it is certainly a public meeting, and there will be a public conversation. I, however, will not be in attendance as I am out of state on that day. But Shane will be handling the meeting and doing a fine job.
Shannon?
Thank you, Chris. Madam Mayor, I have an item that's on the dais that I emailed earlier regarding a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, that we do with our collective bargaining units, and this is MOU number 5. And Chief may want to chime in here to give you any details. One of our retired officers, a retiring, about to retire officer, Ty Wampler, we are looking to bring him back in what's called a retire-rehire, because we like to rhyme. And in any event, it turns out that's a little more complicated than we thought, with
They have
PERS
two
and all
letters
of
that way.
those things. And because of some timing deadlines having to do with insurance, we're going to need to sign that MOU prior to the July 1 meeting. I can't remember the exact deadline, but it's sometime next week is the deadline. And typically we have these, like all agreements, attached to a resolution. I had the resolution prepared, I had the draft one, but due to some technical issues and a couple minor issues, we don't have buy-off on the union yet. We don't think it'll be a problem, but we just simply don't have it. And so I went to Chris with what we do very rarely, which is called a ratification, where Chris and I talk with the appropriate department head and say, you know, we have a deadline. This is an unusual one because usually we don't even know about it until the council meeting's going to be later, so we wouldn't have an opportunity to even mention it. And Chris correctly said, I'm okay with doing a ratification, but since we have a meeting tonight, I'd like to get informal council buy-off on it. And then he and John can sign the MOU when it's finalized sometime between now and next week on the deadline. And so that's what the story is about. It'll be minor budgetary effects. I checked with Tim. It's really technical stuff. For example, we have to pay Social Security, but we don't pay quite as much PERS or ICMA or something, and Tim can tell you a little bit more about that. It may have a positive effect slightly, but you know, it's going to be minimal. And so that is the story. I don't know if, John, you want to add anything?
Well, I'll just add that, well, there's 23 points that we've gone over, and the union agrees with all of them. They're still having some internal debate around seniority within the union. None of that affects us. All of this has already been agreed to at its most expensive level through the CBA, which you've ratified, except for, of course, paying Social Security. And I've told the union that there are a couple places where we're going to back off of what we're presently compensating Tyler Wampler in order to compensate for the payments to Social Security that the city will make. I don't think you'll find it disagreeable at all when you see it.
So the request, you don't need to have a formal vote unless there's objections of sort, is just to see if there's any objections from council to the process of moving forward with that MOU. And then it would be on next meeting's agenda as a ratification, having to be signed prior to the the council meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we have any idea how temporary this is, or is that kind of open-ended?
Yeah, so our problem is, let me back up a little bit further. We would not ordinarily do this because typically when someone retires, there's a cost to the retirement with cash out for vacation, for example. And it isn't to our benefit to immediately rehire them and just prolong the inevitable. In this particular moment, we have a number of retirements that are happening. And we have 2 employees who are not yet solo, but they will be by late October, early November. So the sunset on this is November 24th. There's language to allow us to move that up or push it back, but it's going to be within the next 6 months. And by the way, this MOU is written specific to Tyler Wampler to give us a chance to see where the weak and strong points are. I don't anticipate us developing an MOU that is captures just all future opportunities for this, because we're not going to do it very often, frankly.
However, we have discussed that should we identify that it is actually beneficial to us to use this practice, as opposed to doing them as one-offs, we'll probably develop a program and bring that to the council and get authorization on the program this is a guinea pig case. We're going to see how it works.
Yeah, you know, prior to Senate Bill 1049, which of course only lasts for 5 years, prior to Senate Bill 1049, this was a win for the city because it saved us both sides of PERS. But now under Senate Bill 1049, even the small agencies under 15,000 and counties under, 75 or is it 60,000, even they are going to have to start paying PERS. So there's very little benefit to small agencies and subsequently us hiring somebody back, except for when we flat out need the experienced body. And but nevertheless, we'll cut our teeth on this, and in 5 years, when that benefit reappears, we'll have been there.
Well, I appreciate your comment about that. We'll be looking at this as potentially a pilot to see what the costs and benefits are to the city, because even though this is being written for this particular case, everything we do does set a precedent. And recognizing that, taking the time to look at what the ramifications are or the benefits are, I think is going to be to our advantage, but also very likely for how we're going to keep rolling through the retirements that are coming and how we're going to handle that, rather than do it differently every time, because I don't think that's particularly helpful or healthy for the organization. And this takes a lot of work on the staff's part to deal with it every time.
Well, right, and we do have sort of a bubble of officers who were hired at roughly the same time that are coming through, who are all going to be eligible for retirement at roughly the same time. And it's a fairly large group, and so there may be the case where it makes sense for us to do this as a stopgap measure between when retirements occur and when new officers can solo for a period of time until we get through that bubble. But I'm not sure. So.
Blue boomers. I call them blue boomers.
The blue boomers. It's the bloomers.
I went there.
It's the silver tsunami is occurring. So.
Yes, some of us resemble that. All right, I appreciate that. Okay, with that, so we need a motion then to,
Madam Mayor, since we
Yes.
don't have anything formal before you, I'm not requiring a motion, formal motion. I just indicate if there's any objections, speak now. And if there are no objections, we'll go forward with the plan as I laid it out.
so by consensus, the council is all right with moving forward with this plan? All right,
Thank you.
all right, thank
And
you
I
very
have
much.
nothing further.
Nothing else? All right, then. Written communications, we did receive a note from the Keizer Equestrian Center regarding the Volcanoes baseball fireworks and the horse farming operations at 2828 Z Lane Northeast in Keizer. And this is written to Marion County and then delivered to us. So it's addressed to Marion County. Please stop Volcanoes from shooting off fireworks or anything like that. Damages our horse breeding operation and other safety issues within the EFU zone. EFU is exclusive farm use. We do not have enough horse stalls this year to put the horses in a barn stall to keep horses safe during fireworks blowing off. Last year, we had 4 horses born on our farm. This year, we have 9 new foals born on our farm, and next year, we should have 13 new foals. Last year, we had enough horse stalls to put all horses in, since only 4 new foals. If we have the young horses in the pastures during fireworks, the young horses could run into the fence to get injured or die. If they do not die, they will run into other farmlands and could damage crops or run into the road and die from a car crash. Several of our young foals' hair color are black and hard to see at nighttime. Also during fireworks, many people park cars in our driveway and it is blocked, and they will not move cars until after fireworks. Further, some of people walk or drive into our fields, damaging crops and setting off personal fireworks in dry grass. Both the City of Keizer and Volcanoes Baseball revenue increases when they offer fireworks displays to their customers. Sincerely, Keizer Equestrian Center, LLC. So, just for the record, the city does not receive revenues from fireworks displays or sales. So I just want to make that clear. Regarding parking, is this in the city limits?
No.
That's what I thought, because Z Lane is outside the city limits. It is in Marion County.
Correct.
So can we be communicating then with Marion County Sheriffs to be aware that there is parking happening? And that might be something that, at least in terms of blocking driveways. I know we've had those issues here in the city. Maybe that's a point of conversation to help with that issue regarding not having enough stalls to house their horses. We don't have a program for that. So, but that might be at least one place where we can be helpful. Oh, Chief. All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Any other written communications? I don't have anything else at this point. Agenda input, July 1st, 7 p.m. We will meet in regular session. I will be absent. Is there anybody else think they might?
I may.
You
I'm
might
gonna
be.
try and be back depending on traffic. I may or may not make the meeting, so I'll let you know.
All right. Then we will meet on July 8th, and work session. Do we have a topic yet? We do not at this point. Pardon?
I'm on vacation.
We're on vacation at that one. So the final decision on a work session will be made on July 1st, but at this point, we do not have a topic. There's one that I'm going to recommend, but probably not for July, maybe put it off till August, and that's going to be touring at PGE, Portland General Electric, their facility over on Kale. And they've been working on their resiliency planning, and I think given some of the conversations around power lines, fire, and so forth, I thought it might be interesting for this council to tour there and learn what some of the plans and programs are in place through Portland General Electric. So I will get with City Manager and Tracy Davis on getting that scheduled, but probably not for July. July 15th, we will meet at 7 p.m. in regular session. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I forgot to congratulate Julie Huckenstein, who is retiring from many years in education, president of Chemeketa, and at the same time welcome Jessica Howard, who's from my hometown of San Antonio, Texas. Dr. Howard has written extensively on Tejano music, which is something I'm very interested in. So welcome to her.
Yes, indeed. Thank you all very much. The time is 8:57, and we are adjourned.